You can see here, the way it's been designed is specifically for libraries. The way that bookstores do this, you know that bookstores have tables they put books on, yeah, and that's where the sales go from. They have the A to Z around the edge, just as libraries do. The sales don't go from the A to Z. The sales, majority, the A to Z is reputation, it's credibility. The sales go from the tables in the middle. They're all stacked high with multiple bestsellers, yeah? Well, you try stacking a pile of library books like that. I do have a few photos, I won't embarrass you with them. It looks like a yard sale. You know, the library books will be more damaged, they'll be not quite so fresh, and of course they'll all be different. You know, a bookstore has 100 copies of the same book, so they have no problem stacking them up and making them look good. The essence of multiple display in retails, you see it with baked bean cans, you see it with soap powders, you see it with jeans, it's stacking the same thing together, no problem. Well, maybe you're a lot richer than we are, but we don't have 100 copies of the same book. And where we have bought multiple copies, it's because the book's so popular, it'll be borrowed. So there'll never be, we bought 5, but there'll never be 5 on the shelf at the same time. Not if we got it right, they'll be out, okay? So we don't have that classic technique of retail. We need something which makes lots of individual books look good together, okay? And this is where you begin to start to be more confident about libraries' cultural role, because this makes us very different from bookstores. I don't want this stand in the front of the library to have the same bestsellers on it that is in every bookstore. You know, the choice has narrowed in bookstores. In the major one in the UK, a few years ago, I think it was something like 80% of the sales went from, no, let me get the figures right, 50% of the sales went from 3% of the titles. You know, it's a few that really get read and read and read. The library has range. We should celebrate that. We should be drawing attention to all the books we have that maybe the bookstores aren't pushing. So in this unit, the books are kind of spilling out into your hand. That's what you want. And they're all different. They're not the same book. You can see the unit builds in the height, because we have to get the height to see the book covers, but stacking the books doesn't do that. You need a special piece of furniture. This would never be used in a bookstore, because it wastes too much space. It looks even good from the side, and the books, you can reach around to the side and get them off. This is a fairly typical small English library. We're probably a bit more cramped than you are, but I've seen some, and certainly in Canada, that weren't very different from this. And this is what we did with it. Changed it completely, and here, in this key front space, here's the books to go tables. We call them quick choice, often in England, you can call them what you want. I think books to go is a nice phrase too. Just means there's nothing there that's been selected with a particular purpose. It's a random collection, but if the library staff are good, it'll be really interesting. That's what gets it to me. Here's that same library, the other end view. See again, there's sort of, you know, we do cram our shelves, don't we? And here again, looking up the other way, that's towards the entrance, and there's those 2 tables. I wanted you to see how small this library is. It's about, I think, 150 square metres. And we still put 2 of those tables in it. I've had several people say to me today, oh, these are too big. They're not too big. They earn their keep. They will get more books borrowed than anything else you put in the library. This is the highest performing unit in the UK. Put it in the right place, keep it filled up, whoosh, it goes. And this is our other problem with entrances in libraries, and I'm sure you're in the process of changing this as much as we are. But the first thing you see in an awful lot of public libraries is the desk. Yes, and the desk is huge. The desk was in the days when we thought we'd have 20 staff behind it, or a little library 5 staff, and we don't anymore. There's 1 or 2 sole people with all this space, and it's a huge barrier. What store do you ever go into that put that control desk right in front of you? You know, they tempt you with the product first, and then you look around for where to pay. So we do need to change that. That's how we're changing to the UK. That's a very bookstore look. But actually, when you look closely, it's not at all a bookstore look, because the range of books on there is quite different from what you'd see in a bookstore. A library has a fantastic role to open up reading choices and to tempt people to read more widely. And these are my best statistics. This is a library I've had nothing to do with, which is in London, but it does use the tables that we designed in the middle here. This is South London. It's a large borough. And this is a big library. The library's on 7 floors, central library. They created this area just to the right of the main entrance as you come in, and they called it page 1, like the first page of a book. Okay. And they have 850 paperbacks in it at any one time. And this 850 paperbacks represents 0.5% of the collection. Slightly less, actually, because it's a big library, it's got a big collection. And just look at those circ figures. This 0.5% does 30% of the fiction circ every day, day in, day out. They sent me the figures for the last 3 years. And it does 20% of the total circ. That's fantastic. Now, why does that work? It works because it's appealing to the 3 out of 4 people who don't know what they want. The one who does will never come into this area. They ignore page 1. They go up to the main library. That's fine. This wouldn't suit them. They'd be really cross with it. I can't find anything in here. You know? Fine. Go to the main library. That's where it all is. But just look how many people actually like this approach. That's phenomenal, those fiction issues. And of course, if you're looking at this from a library staffing point of view in hard times, it's much easier to keep a small area like this topped up and turning over than to be sending your staff up to the 7th floor to reshelve things. So you can get quite clever about how you manage things too. As well as those big tables, we do something we call a book pod, which is a slimmer unit, more compact, but with the same principles of trying to have as much face forward as possible. We're very practical about this in libraries terms. At the bottom there, spine on, you can turn things out. You can lift from there to put onto the face forward up above.
Would you repeat
Please.
that?
Yeah. If you see this one here, that's got books spine out. This way on. People won't take those. They'll take the ones above. But the idea is that whenever any member of staff goes past, they pick one from there to fill it up above. They don't have to go to the back office to get another book. They can just lift one of those. It's got its own sort of storage within it, and that works really well. So we're always looking to try and make things as practical as possible. All these units will take books 2 deep. So if you take one off, there's 1 more behind. Not 5 more, because we're not a bookstore, but 1 more. That buys you time for top-up. Here we put it right next to the self-service. You can see there's a book pod, books to go, and a table, books to go. And as people come to check out their books, you wouldn't believe how many of them take an extra one, because they just see something they like. We also put it on countertops, little, smaller units. Same thinking, just take an extra. We put it in the windows. We use them with different age groups, here with teens, quick choice for young adults. They're also quite useful sometimes in awkward spots. I put this one in because it's actually under a staircase, and we use it to stop people banging their heads from a safety point of view. But also, there's a nice little bit of face-forward display.